kabilule wa okulu tinau kishmi.
I think we can all agree that the news of the Passion of the Christ 2 officially happening is pretty huge, but it's not going to be an easy ride. Mel Gibson has some seriously ambitious plans, including depicting hell and the fall of the angels. On top of that, he's got a vision for who will play Jesus this time around, and if you thought that was all, think again. Gibson isn't stopping there. He's also addressed the status of another big project, Lethal Weapon 5. So, let's dive into everything we know so far. Mel Gibson has finally revealed some major details about the Passion of the Christ 2, officially titled The Resurrection of the Christ. This sequel has been in development for years, with many details kept under wraps since its announcement. While it was always clear that the story would pick up after Jesus' death, exploring his resurrection and the reactions of his followers in those 3 days, the specifics had been a mystery. Gibson's co-writer Randall Wallace mentioned back in 2016 that work was underway, but only now are we getting a real sense of what the film will be about. Recently, Gibson appeared on the Joe Rogan Experience and dropped some game-changing details. According to him, this sequel is going to be an acid trip of a movie, covering everything from the fall of the angels to the death of the last apostle. He described the film as incredibly ambitious and confirmed that filming is set to begin in 2026. "I'm hoping next year sometime. There's a lot required because it's an acid trip. I've never read anything like it. My brother and I and Randall all sort of congregated on this. So there's some good heads put together, but there's some crazy stuff. And I think in order to really tell the story properly, you have to really start with the fall of the angels, which means you're in another place, you're in another realm. You need to go to hell. You need to go to Sheol." One major change fans will notice is the recasting of Jesus. Jim Caviezel, who played the role in the first film, won't be returning, at least not in the same way. Gibson explained that due to the need for de-aging technology, it makes more sense to cast a younger actor than to rely on CGI to make Caviezel look younger. He's still looking for the right person to take on the role, but he knows one thing for sure. This movie is going to be one of his biggest challenges yet. It's about finding the way in that's not cheesy or too obvious. I think I have ideas about how to do that, and how to evoke things and emotions in people from the way you depict it and the way you shoot it. So I've been thinking about it for a long time. It's not going to be easy, and it's going to require a lot of planning, and I'm not wholly sure I can pull it off, to tell you the truth. It's super ambitious. But I'll take a crack at it because that's what you gotta do, right? Walk up to the plate, right? If Gibson's words are anything to go by, this might be his most ambitious project yet. The original Passion of the Christ was a massive success, praised for its intense and unfiltered portrayal of Jesus' crucifixion, as well as its use of Aramaic to create an authentic experience. However, it was also met with controversy, particularly regarding its graphic violence and accusations of anti-Semitism. Still, it remains one of the highest-grossing R-rated films of all time, and one of the most well-known biblical epics ever made. Gibson has since continued to prove his skills as a filmmaker with Apocalypto and Hacksaw Ridge, the latter earning him an Academy Award nomination for Best Director. He also has another film, Flight Risk, coming out on January 25th, 2025, before he dives into filming The Resurrection the following year. With The Passion of the Christ 2, he's pushing the boundaries even further. Rather than simply focusing on the resurrection itself, the film will take a deep dive into Sheol, exploring the concept of hell and the fate of fallen angels. This is something that hasn't really been explored in previous biblical films, making it a unique and risky move. Given the complexity of the story and the sheer scale of what he's attempting, it's no surprise that the project has taken so long to get off the ground. Of course, there's still a lot we don't know, like who will play Jesus and how exactly the film will balance its theological elements with cinematic storytelling. But one thing's for sure, Gibson is fully committed to making this sequel something truly extraordinary. If all goes according to plan and filming starts in 2026, we could be looking at a 2027 or 2028 release. Whether it will receive the same critical and commercial success as the first film remains to be seen, but there's no doubt that Gibson is aiming high. The decision to focus on the resurrection and the fall of the angels is an intriguing one, as it expands the scope beyond what most people typically associate with the Passion story. This could be a way for Gibson to not only tell a compelling narrative, but also explore deep theological and philosophical questions in a visually stunning way. Since some elements, like the new Jesus actor, are still undecided, we can expect more updates before production begins. With all of this in mind, Gibson's vision for The Passion of the Christ 2 is shaping up to be one of the boldest and most ambitious religious films ever made. It's going to be a long wait, but if he pulls it off, this could be one of the most talked about movies of the decade. Stay tuned for more updates as we get closer to filming. Mel Gibson has been making waves lately, not just with The Passion of the Christ 2, but also with updates on Lethal Weapon 5. He became a household name playing Martin Riggs alongside Danny Glover in the Lethal Weapon series from 1987 to 1998. Then he shifted gears and won an Oscar for directing Braveheart in 1995 before taking on the biblical epic The Passion of the Christ in 2004. But after some personal controversies, he stepped away from the spotlight for a while. Now he's back in mainstream Hollywood, and people are wondering if he'll return to directing. In an interview with comicbook.com, Gibson talked about the possibility of these sequels happening and the challenges that come with getting any movie off the ground. He used a chicken and egg analogy to explain how unpredictable Hollywood can be when it comes to deciding which project gets made first. He didn't give any definitive answers, but his attitude suggests that both films are still in play. Here's what he said. "I don't know, and that's the funny thing. I mean, there are all sorts of obstacles to getting a film going, not just budget issues, but a million different reasons why something happens or doesn't. So at this point, it's kind of a crapshoot as to what comes first, the chicken or the egg." So what does that mean for Lethal Weapon 5 and Passion 2? Well, even though neither movie is confirmed yet, Gibson's optimism suggests they're still on the table. But there are definitely some hurdles. For The Passion of the Christ sequel, the 20-year gap since the first film could make things tricky in terms of continuity. Over the summer, Gibson shared a positive update about the film, so it's still very much in the conversation. That's our take on Lethal Weapon 5 and The Passion of the Christ 2. Let us know what you think in the comments. Are you excited for these sequels? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. We'll see you.